Today, we are honored to speak with the founder of the Panograma competition, Mr. Nevin Roach. Nevin, welcome to Good Morning SKN.
Welcome. Good morning.
Hi, morning, Jamie. Morning, Kortensia, and good morning to Sin Kids. It's great to be here.
Yes, indeed, and we can tell by your accent, you are Trinidadian and Tobagonian. I say that on TV, TT, that's right, you're from TNT, but you're also living in Barbados, so you're representing the colors, I have to tell you, with your background and your t-shirt right now. So what can you tell us about the Panograma competition?
Oh, yes. So before I jump into that, let me quickly correct myself. Good morning, St. Kitts and Nevis. Yes, I don't want to get into it.
Love it.
That's fine. Or you could simply say good morning, SKN, and you'd have it right there.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Right. So Panograma is an international steel pan competition that was born during the heights of COVID restrictions and lockdowns. It's an energetic, engaging show. One of the biggest things to happen during the lockdowns. It focuses on soloists at this point, features talented upcoming panists. You know, we want to give persons the opportunity to expose their talent and market themselves. And we mainly focus on providing wholesome, family-oriented entertainment. In addition to that, Panograma focuses a lot on the holistic development of the panists that participate, and in essence, we market the national instrument of Trinidad and Tobago globally. So it started as a virtual competition. It's still virtual at this point. We started on Instagram in 2020 during the COVID lockdowns, and we grew exponentially in just 1 year. Imagine 2020, we were on Instagram, and then in 2022, we moved to YouTube, Facebook, and also television. And this year now, we have an international television deal that would see Panograma air throughout the Caribbean region, in the US and in Canada. So I'm very, very excited about that. And here we are today on Good Morning SKN.
Remind me to speak with your marketing person. Excellent work.
Thank you.
So Nevin, you mentioned earlier that you started Panograma during the COVID pandemic. Was there any reservations to launching during this time? Was it the fact that you had more time?
Well, the reality was that we had nothing to do. We were all at home. We couldn't go anywhere. We were bouncing from live to live on Instagram and Facebook and so forth. So I was one of those persons. And for those who know me, I am not the type of person to sit at home in my room. So I was really reaching for things to do. I was doing poetry. I was very active on social media. And eventually, in 2020, I got influenced by the live entertainment that was taking place on the social media. And I thought to myself, well, hey, I can do something for Pan. And I got the idea to put on a show, to be entertaining, to provide a platform for panists to showcase their talent. And I just ran with the idea. That's how it got started. So really and truly, without the pandemic taking place, there would be no Panograma. And you hear the name Panograma. I wanted to bring a panorama vibe to Instagram. So it was just the fusion of the two words, and there we have Panograma. But I must admit it wasn't an easy sell. And I must thank persons like David Ziggy Walcott, O.J. Richards, Kenneth Joseph, Chad Smith. Those were some of the integral players in that very first year that helped me get things together. They judge, they provide graphics and so forth. They put their ideas into the whole project, and it was a success. I was nervous. I did not know what to expect. I remember one day I was working on plans for the show in 2020, and someone messaged me and told me that Duvon Stewart was talking about Panograma on his show Pan Chronicles. And I was like, what? the Devon Stewart is talking about my competition. Man, I was so excited. And then from that, I ended up getting my first call from the media, from Melissa Doughty of the Trinidad and Tobago Newsday, and things just started to take off from there, And you would think that since I started getting all that traction, everything was perfect. It was far from. Picture this. The Friday, April 24th, 2020 is when the first night of prelims was gonna air on Instagram. The Monday of that week, I only had 8 participants registered in the competition. I advertised 3 nights of prelims. I only had 8 participants, and there I was thinking, oh man, this thing is gonna fail. This thing is gonna fail. But I stuck to my guns. I reached out to panelists, and I ended up getting a total of 20 panelists for the very first edition. And we were fortunate to have 2 nights of prelims. Everybody had a wonderful time. We had about 11 countries represented. The final saw over 1,000 persons attend on Instagram, and we had coverage throughout the region in the media and so forth. So, I mean, going from nothing to something really quickly, it was a huge success.
I have to tell you, I love that story. The fact that you persevere. You're talking about Monday into the weekend, from 8 to however many that you got to. Oh, you must be so humbled. I have to tell you. quite a humbling and engaging story indeed. Now, what I want to talk to you about is, and you probably hit some of it already, but it's referred to as World Cup of Steel Pan. The World Cup of Steel Pan, this Panograma competition. So how do you think you achieved that title so quickly?
Well, it's more about my vision for the project, and what I think we deserve to have, because why not have a World Cup of Steel Pan? Do you guys know that there is an event called the World Wife Carrying Championships? Like,
no. You're the first to tell me that.
The World Wife Carrying Championships. Picture that. On YouTube, they receive hundreds of thousands of views. So why can't we have a World Cup of Steel Pan? So I project into the future. I looked at this thing 5 years, 10 years down the road. And I think, with the steel pan being such a wonderful instrument that it is, coming from Trinidad and Tobago, and we have embraced it in the region, we can do great things with it. And I have not heard anybody talk about a World Cup of Steel Pan, and while it is not exactly where I want it to be just yet, we are getting there. And I can imagine 5 to 10 years, 15 years down the road, people are going to be looking back at the humble and modest beginnings of Panograma, soon to be officially the World Cup of Steel Pan. And we'll be like, wow, look at how far we have come. Imagine your stadium in St. Kitts and Nevis filled with people just to look at the finals of the World Cup of Steel Pan. Yeah. And so I have a really big vision for this thing, and I'm taking it step by step to get it to where it should be.
So Nevin, in what way does this competition help with the development of participating panelists?
Well, in 2020, when we just started up, David Ziggy Walcott had suggested a private session with a world-renowned steel panelist as part of the prize package, right? And that was a hit. Earl Brooks Jr. won the very first year, and he was thrilled to have that private session with Professor Liam Teague. So from then, what I decided to do was to introduce what I call the Knowledge for Success series, right? That started last year. And basically what it is, it's a series of webinars that we host for the participants. And we open some of these webinars to the public as well, to discuss topics such as career guidance, where we would have a general talk with the likes of Professor Liam Teague. He would be on hand to present, give insight to his own journey, and at the same time answer questions that these young panelists would have about, how can they be as successful as he is currently. We also have a musical development session with Natasha Joseph out of Trinidad and Tobago. And what she does is she goes through the rudiments of arranging music, right? So we have panelists of different levels participating in the competition. And what we do is we offer the resources, the musical resources, so that these participants, if they are not that experienced, at least they have an opportunity to learn something new, try it out, whether it be in the competition or through their own private gigs or with their bands and so forth. So we seek to elevate the education of these participants through that as well. And the third part of that webinar series is a personal and professional development session. We usually use Dr. Stefan Campbell. And, many times persons, they have a vision, they have a goal, they have a project that they want to execute, but they're not sure how to go about it in the best way. And this session, helps them to set smart goals, to plan, to if you're not familiar with mentorship, it teaches you about mentorship, and it gets you organized all around so that you can truly put your best forward on a personal level and a professional level to achieve the goals that you want to achieve, because a lot of people are out there, they know what they want to do, but they don't necessarily know how to do it, how to go about it. And if you can't go about it in the best way, chances are you're going to be spinning top in mud and you're not going to achieve what you set out to achieve, right? And that's just for the panelists. In addition to all of that, we have a professional relationship with the UE Caribbean School of Media and Communication, where we provide internships for the students. Now, they are required to complete a 30-day internship as part of their program, and we offer them that real life working experience where we provide guidance, and they primarily focus on writing the releases for Panograma. So we provide that real life working experience, we provide the guidance, and you will be pleased to know that this year we started working with Mrs. Kamara Lee Prentice of Talent Plus HR. That's St. Kitts and Nevis, already involved in Panograma. Yes, and I have to say a huge thank you. Since the first session, she has gotten raving reviews from the first intern that she worked with at Panograma, and she should be working with a couple more. So we're not only thinking about the panelists who participate, we're thinking about the wider public as well. And of course, we are thinking about students. And the hope is that in the future, we can open up more internships in different areas where we can help with the development of youth.
Very impressive indeed. Can you give us some insight into the format and structure of this year's competition, Nevin?
Right. Thought you'd never ask. Well, thankfully, we had some sponsors who are able to assist us this year. Bago, Perfect Steel, the Ministry of Sports, Youth and Culture in Bahamas, Pan Notation, Minio Caribbean, Tech Media Limited, Soca Mallet. Without these, we wouldn't even be speaking about this year, but the panelists are required to arrange and perform a tune of choice from any genre. The only thing that we ask is that the music they choose does not promote explicit sexual behavior, discrimination, or violence, right? They would perform for a maximum of 4 minutes and 30 seconds. They will go through 3 rounds of competition. We have the prelims that is set to air May 6th to 8th, that's next week. The semifinals would air on May 29th, and the grand finals would be aired on June 12th. And how they're going to move through, we have a total of 24 in this year. 20 would progress to the semifinals, and then 10 would be in the finals. Judging, Yes, they are going to be judged. We have a panel of qualified judges. Professor Liam Teague, the Paganini of Steel Pan, he heads up the judging panel along with Dr. Mia Gormandy Benjamin out of Trinidad and Tobago. And we also have adjunct Professor Victor Provost. He's from the U.S. Virgin Islands, and that constitutes the main judging panel. In addition to those three, we have two substitutes ready to fill in Mr. Andy Chichester out of Grenada and Mr. O.J. Richards from Trinidad and Tobago. And they will have the hard task of judging these panelists and allocating marks based on their variations, the execution, and it's not just about the music. They are expected to present themselves according to the theme, the tune that they have selected. So we expect to see, lovely costuming. Their spaces should be well prepared and such, and they will get points for that as well. And they all will be competing for a grand prize of an all expenses paid trip to the Bahamas, and that's courtesy the Ministry of Sports, Youth and Culture out there in the Bahamas. One brand new tenor pan from Perfect Steel. I have to say thanks to Juma Simmons, and also a private session with a world-renowned steel panist. And, people like a little cash. A little cash has to be involved. So that winner would also receive $1,000 cash. That's over $6,000 worth in prizes. Yeah. So I encourage everybody to connect with us. You see the information on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Subscribe to our mailing list on our website, panograma.com. Stay connected to receive the links to the shows. We'll be streaming only on YouTube.